Are we together? Jesus telling the story. I'm only telling the story. 10 minutes later, a Rastafarian came by on his motorbike, dreadlocks. And as he came by on his motorbike, he happened to see the man, but he didn't know him. And he was concerned, so he stopped, lifted the man out of the gutter, wiped the dirt and the blood from the man's face and hands and feet. He looked into his pocket and he found some stuff and he cleaned the man's wounds, lifted the man up, placed him on his motorbike, and after bandaging his wounds with his shirt, which he tore into strips of cloth, tore his shirt into strips, bandaged the man's wounds, lifted him and placed him on his bike, and rode with him to Brookdale Medical Center and took him into the ER. After doing the paperwork, he deposited $2,000 to the hospital and spent the entire night there with this man. The next morning, he decided to leave. And he went over to the charge nurse and he said, "Nurse, take care of this man. Whatever he needs, give him. I've deposited some money here. I'm coming back. When I come back, I will pay whatever charges there are." And he went his way. Then Jesus said, "Which of these three was a neighbor to him that fell among thieves?" Remember, the one that fell among thieves was from the same church of the deacon and the elder. Which was neighbor? When I look at the text, I discover that there are approximately, depends on how you count, in the 3 verses, 16 verbs. Came, saw, had compassion, went to, bound up, poured in, set him on, brought him in, took care, took out, gave, enlisted the help of others, come again, and repay. Very dynamic. This Samaritan if the man he attended to was on his feet, he might have refused to even spit on him because he was beyond salvation. He was unrecognized, unimportant. Jesus said, which this man took his time. He used his talents and abilities. He used his treasure, his possession, his comfort, and his all to help this man. Jesus said, which of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him that fell among thieves? The man answered, he would not even say the word Samaritan. Won't say Rasta help him. He said, the one that showed mercy unto him. Then Jesus said, go and do likewise. Who is my neighbor? Is the wrong question. The real question, the correct question, and more importantly, the right question, the important question, the question that separates the pretense from the real, the fake from the genuine, the question which separates the dishonest from the honest, the question which separates those having a form of godliness but denying the powers thereof. The question which everyone must answer in word and deed, the inescapable question which I must answer, which you must answer if we will have eternal life. What is that question? Is the one that Jesus asked. When Jesus asked, the man asked, who is my neighbor? Are we together? When the man, in the man's question, the word neighbor is a noun. Are we together? Who is my neighbor? He uses a noun. But what Jesus does, Jesus rephrases the question, changes the personal pronoun and the grammatical structure of one word. Who is my neighbor? No. For the Christian, for the follower of Jesus Christ, the word neighbor must never be in the form of a noun. Never. Instead, for the Christian, the word neighbor should be in the form of a verb. But, more correctly, as Jesus used it, it should be an adverb. And I got to work with that. An adverb. Because it should modify another verb or a phrase, but it would not modify a noun. Adjective, take care of that. The word neighbor, as used in the text, are you looking at the text? Is a substantive adverb. Am I talking to somebody? Which means it's an adverb that behaves like a noun even though it is not a noun. What does Jesus say? Why did Jesus employ that? I'll tell you. Therefore, the question should be not who is my neighbor, but instead, whose neighbor am I? And more correctly, who am I neighbor to? And better yet, to whom am I performing neighborly acts? Are you getting the adverb? Or to whom am I being neighborly? Or whom am I neighboring? You see, what the adverb does, the adverb puts limit on the verb in terms of time, which means that it answers to the question, when? So, I should be neighborly when? Now, every time, and all the time. It also answers to the question, who? To whom shall I be neighborly? To everyone. And on the foothills of that is, where should I be neighborly? So it's everyone, where? Everywhere. When? All the time, every time. In what manner should I be neighborly? It answers to the question, how? I should be neighborly quickly and gently. And to what degree? Also answers to the question, how? I should be neighborly first, best, and always. It also answers the question, how often? I should be neighborly frequently. The right question. Did I hear somebody snoring on me? You don't know that's the reason why I came down here? I told them that in a church last week. They didn't believe me that I wake people up in church. I've been here before, you know me. So the question is, you cannot ask, who is my neighbor? It's the wrong question. The right question is, to whom am I neighborly? Therefore, when Jesus said, go and do likewise, Jesus was commanding the lawyer. And Jesus is commanding us to begin now and to continue going and being neighborly. Now and always. Here, there, and everywhere. To every person, all the time. First, best, always. Absolutely, honestly, completely, consistently, continuously. We ought to be neighborly. Neighborly. Not neighbor, neighborly. Question is, to whom have you been neighborly this week? And who is your neighbor? The poor, the helpless, the orphan, the widow, the lonely, the despised, the sick, the sorrowing, the hungry, the naked, the helpless, should declare, I have been neighborly to them. the lonely, the unemployed, the